Christine Brown just called her reality show a set, not a home, not her life, a set. Let that sink in while we unpack what just exploded across social media. Christine hopped on a live stream with her husband David and his daughter Kody for what seemed like a cute little interview session. Kody asked the question everyone wonders, do you and David actually talk about Kody in real life, or just when cameras roll? Christine's answer came fast and razor sharp. They never discuss Kody. Not at breakfast, not at bedtime, not during their adorable Lego building marathons. The only time his name crosses her lips is when she's on set filming Sister Wives. The set. She said the set, like she's shooting a scripted drama instead of supposedly living her authentic truth for TLC's cameras. Her actual house, her actual moving day, her actual conversations with producers, all sets in Christine's vocabulary. And she went further, describing last year's tell-all as absolutely infuriating because producers kept circling back to Kody questions. What went wrong in the marriage? How do you feel about his hair? Did his sweat bother you? Christine's response dripped with exasperation. She's married now to David. She doesn't think about Kody. She doesn't talk about Kody. She called David after that tell-all session completely livid that the entire conversation centered on her ex instead of her present. Here's where it gets deliciously ironic. Christine released a memoir exactly 1 month before this live stream confession, a New York Times bestseller that flew off shelves. The entire book chronicles her life with Kody, growing up in polygamy, becoming a sister wife, watching Robin enter the family, raising kids in chaos, finally escaping. Page after page of Kody content sold to hundreds of thousands of readers who couldn't get enough of her sister wife's story. And now she's furious that a tell-all wants to discuss the same man whose story she literally just profited from telling. The contradiction isn't lost on anyone paying attention. Christine wrote that memoir on her terms, from her perspective, sharing exactly what felt comfortable without producer manipulation or uncomfortable follow-up questions. She controlled the narrative completely. But when TLC's cameras roll and Sukanya starts pushing for answers Christine doesn't want to give, suddenly the whole experience becomes infuriating. The difference between telling your story and being interviewed about it apparently feels like the difference between freedom and imprisonment. Meanwhile, Kody's out doing press tours for Special Forces, calling Sister Wives a negative experience full of trash talking. Both exes hate the show. Both keep showing up for paychecks, and viewers are starting to wonder the same thing Christine asked David on that phone call after the tell-all. If everyone's miserable, why exactly are we still here? Every woman who's ever had to smile through an uncomfortable conversation knows the difference between choosing to share and being forced to perform. Christine just drew that line in the sand with permanent marker. When she calls Sister Wives a set, she's admitting something most reality stars dance around for years. This isn't candid footage of her life happening naturally. It's a production with crews, lighting, producer questions, and scripted sit-down interviews where she's expected to deliver emotional content on command. The supposed authenticity TLC sells viewers every Sunday night is actually a carefully orchestrated performance with call times and contracts. Christine's fury at last year's tell-all reveals exactly how this machine operates. Producers don't just film what happens, they steer conversations toward drama and unresolved trauma, because that's what keeps viewers watching. They asked Christine about Kody's hair, his sweat, the intimate details of a marriage she left behind like old furniture she doesn't want anymore. She sat there, newly married to David, being forced to dissect her ex-husband's grooming habits for entertainment value. The questions weren't designed to help Christine process or heal, they were designed to create content, to mine her past for reaction shots and sound bites that could be chopped into promotional clips. Every question she didn't want to answer became a moment where producers could capture her discomfort, her irritation, her visible desire to be anywhere else. That footage is gold in reality television, authentic emotion, even when that emotion is resentment at being interviewed in the first place. Christine called David immediately after filming Wrapped, furious that the entire tell-all centered on Kody instead of her new life. She wanted to talk about her happiness, her fresh start, her actual present-day reality. But TLC didn't pay her to discuss contentment. They paid her to rehash conflict, to explain failures, to give viewers the messy emotional closure the show's narrative demanded. This is the unspoken contract every reality star signs. You trade privacy for paychecks. You perform vulnerability on demand. You answer questions you'd shut down instantly if a friend asked them at brunch. And you do it all while maintaining the fiction that cameras just happen to be capturing your real life organically. Christine's breaking that fiction wide open by admitting she hates it, by calling it a set, by confessing that she and David deliberately avoid discussing Kody in their actual daily life because he's irrelevant to their happiness. The only time she thinks about her ex-husband is when TLC's paycheck requires it. Kody's matching her energy from the opposite coast, calling Sister Wives negative and full of trash talking during his Special Forces press tour. He described that show as life-affirming, compared to the toxicity of filming his family's implosion. Both exes actively despise the work they're doing. Both keep cashing checks and showing up for filming. The question hanging in the air like smoke after a fire. If the stars hate performing and viewers keep tuning out, who exactly is this show serving anymore? Christine published a New York Times bestseller 1 month ago. The book's title might as well be My Life with Kody: The Unfiltered Truth. Now she's on live streams insisting she never thinks about the man. The memoir walks readers through every significant moment of her polygamous marriage, meeting Kody, falling into the sister-wife lifestyle, navigating jealousy when Robin joined the family, raising children in a household where attention got divided by 4, the slow realization that she deserved better, the moment she finally walked away. Every chapter drips with Kody content, served up for readers hungry to understand how Christine survived and ultimately escaped. She wrote it, she edited it, she promoted it on book tours and interviews. She signed copies for fans who wanted her perspective on those exact years she now claims to never discuss. The book flew off shelves because people connected with her story, with her journey from trapped sister wife to empowered single woman ready for real love. And here's the fascinating part. Christine doesn't seem to see the contradiction. In her mind, there's a massive difference between the memoir and the tell-all questions. The book represents her choice, her narrative control, her terms. She decided which stories to tell and which to keep private. She wrote from a place of reflection and healing, not from a chair with cameras pointed at her face while producers pushed for rawer emotions. The tell-all represents everything she can't control. Producers craft questions designed to extract drama. They push into uncomfortable territory because discomfort creates compelling television. They don't let her stick to prepared talking points or redirect conversations when they veer into painful memories. She's trapped in that chair, contractually obligated to answer, watching the clock until she can escape back to her real life where Kody doesn't exist. Every woman who's ever told a story on her own terms understands this distinction. Writing your truth in private, editing it carefully, sharing only what feels right, that's empowerment. Being interviewed about that same truth while someone else controls the questions and the editing, that's exposure. One feels like reclaiming your narrative. The other feels like being forced to relive trauma for someone else's profit. Christine wrote the memoir years ago, back when processing those experiences still felt necessary. She's moved on since then. She found David. She built a new life in Utah. She transformed from sister wife to happily married woman who races her husband to the shower and builds Legos on lazy mornings. The person who wrote that book isn't the same person sitting in tell-all chairs fielding questions about Kody's sweat. But TLC doesn't care about Christine's personal evolution. They care about the storyline that hooked viewers in the first place. Sister Wives built its audience on polygamy drama and slow-motion family implosion. Christine's happiness doesn't serve that narrative. Her resentment at being asked to perform her past does. So she shows up, answers the questions she despises, collects her paycheck, and calls David afterward to vent her fury. Then she goes on live streams and tells the truth. She hates every second of it. The audience is walking away. Not slowly, not gradually. In an absolute exodus that should have network executives sweating through their business casual. December 2022, the tell-all where Christine confirmed her divorce from Kody and the family started its public collapse. That episode pulled 2.1 million viewers. People tuned in to watch the sister-wife empire crumble in real time. The drama was fresh, the emotions raw, the conflict exactly what reality television promises. TLC had lightning in a bottle. Fast forward to August 2023 when season 18 premiered. The first episode brought in 1.741 million viewers. Still respectable, still enough to justify production costs and cast salaries. The season finale held steady at 1.7 million. The show was bleeding viewers, but not hemorrhaging yet. Then season 19 premiered with Janelle's exit and Mary's departure hitting screens. Everyone was leaving Kody now. The storyline that should have drawn massive audiences pulled only 937,000 viewers for the premiere, less than half the tell-all numbers from 10 months earlier. The highest viewership that entire season came on November 24th, 2024, when 1.2 million people tuned in. Then the decline continued, relentless as gravity. When the second half of season 19 returned after a hiatus in April, only 842,000 viewers showed up. The tell-alls that used to dominate ratings barely scraped 1 million in June. And this current season, season 20, premiered to just 877,000 viewers. Last week's episode lost another 17,000, dropping to 860,000. Do the math. Sister Wives lost 1.3 million viewers in 3 years. That's not a dip. That's a catastrophic audience collapse. The show lost more than half its viewership while cast members openly admitted they hate filming, and the drama everyone tuned in for already concluded. The wives left. That story's over. What's left is watching Kody and Robin pretend everything's fine while Christine builds Legos with David in Utah. Every woman who's ever watched a relationship drag on past its expiration date recognizes this pattern. The interesting part already happened. The breakup, the revelations, the moment someone finally got free. Everything after is just cleanup and logistics. Viewers showed up to watch the escape. They're not sticking around for the aftermath. Ratings measure interest, and interest is plummeting. Each season premiere performs worse than the last. Each episode loses a few thousand more viewers, who decide their Sunday nights are better spent literally anywhere else. The people who remain are either die-hard fans or viewers who haven't quite figured out why they're still watching a show where the cast openly resents their own participation. Christine's fury at tell-all questions makes more sense against these numbers. She's performing for a shrinking audience, answering questions she despises for a show losing relevance by the episode. The paycheck might still clear, but the cultural impact that made reality television appealing in the first place is evaporating faster than morning dew in the desert. And those declining numbers create a financial pressure that makes everything about this situation infinitely more complicated. Here's what most viewers don't consider while watching Sister Wives from their couches. Every scene costs money. Every conversation filmed in a different location requires a crew, equipment, travel budgets, and time. Time is the fiscal dragon of reality television, and that dragon is currently eating TLC's lunch. When the Brown family lived together in Flagstaff, production was relatively simple. One crew could film multiple family members in one city. They'd set up the talking head interviews in one location, capture family gatherings with everyone present, and wrap filming efficiently. The budget stretched further because logistics stayed contained. Now, Christine lives in Utah, Janelle relocated to North Carolina. Kody and Robin remain in Flagstaff. Mary's doing her own thing. Production crews have to travel to 3 different states to capture footage of a family that no longer functions as a unit. Each location needs its own setup for those sit-down interview segments where cast members reflect on events. Each trip requires flights, hotels, equipment shipping, and crew schedules coordinated across time zones. Figure 8 Films produces Sister Wives from their North Carolina headquarters, which makes filming Janelle slightly easier. But they're still coordinating separate shoots in Utah and Arizona while trying to create a cohesive narrative from people who actively avoid being in the same room together. The editing alone becomes exponentially more complex when you're stitching together storylines from completely separate lives. Every woman who's managed a household budget understands fixed costs versus variable costs. Sister Wives just transformed from a fixed-cost production into a variable-cost nightmare. More locations mean more money. Fewer viewers mean less advertising revenue. The math stops mathing very quickly. This explains why producers keep pushing for family reunions and group conversations during tell-alls. Getting everyone together in one place saves massive amounts of money. It also creates the drama that reality television thrives on. But when cast members refuse to engage, when Christine gets furious at being asked about Kody, when everyone's established separate lives they'd prefer to live privately, forcing those reunions becomes harder to justify. Sukanya pushing the family to hang out and reconcile during tell-alls isn't just about creating compelling television, it's about production efficiency. One big family gathering yields hours of footage from a single shoot. Separate interviews across 3 states yield the same content at triple the cost. The declining viewership makes these production costs even more painful. When 2.1 million people tuned in, the advertising revenue justified the expense. When only 860,000 viewers show up, suddenly every flight to Utah and every hotel room in Flagstaff gets scrutinized by network accountants. Christine and the other cast members aren't making the money most people assume reality stars earn. Not anymore. The show's revenue is shrinking while production costs explode. Their per-episode rates might look decent on paper, but consider what they're trading: privacy, dignity, forced performances of emotions they'd rather forget, all for a show that's hemorrhaging viewers and cultural relevance. The business model is breaking. Everyone involved can feel it, and yet they all keep showing up, keep signing contracts, keep performing lives they claim to hate living on camera. Kody Brown went on a press tour for Fox's Special Forces and couldn't stop trash-talking his actual job. The irony is thicker than his carefully styled curls. During interviews promoting the military-style reality competition, Kody described the experience as life-affirming, refreshing, a complete contrast to the negativity and trash-talking that defines Sister Wives. He painted his family's show as this toxic environment full of people who can't stop complaining, while Special Forces represented teamwork and positivity. Viewers watching those interviews had questions, many questions. First question, if Sister Wives is so negative, why does Kody keep filming? Second question, who exactly is doing all the trash talking he's complaining about? Third question, has this man watched a single episode of his own behavior? Because here's what actually happened on Special Forces. Kody joined a team with 2 other women for a challenge. He proceeded to ignore them completely, focused entirely on his own performance, showed zero concern for his teammates, and demonstrated exactly why his wives walked away. The man who complained about sister wives' negativity spent his Special Forces screen time being the least collaborative team member in recent reality television history. Every woman who's ever worked with a colleague who claims everyone else is the problem recognizes this pattern immediately. Kody's out here calling his family show toxic while displaying the exact behavior that made it toxic in the first place. The lack of self-awareness is genuinely stunning. But strip away the hypocrisy and focus on the core admission. Kody hates sister wives. He finds it negative. He resents the trash talking, which presumably means he resents his ex-wives discussing how badly he treated them. He'd rather be doing literally anything else, including humiliating himself on a completely different reality show where he can pretend to be a team player for a few weeks. Christine hates sister wives. She gets furious at tell-alls, despises questions about Kody, calls the whole thing a set instead of her life. She'd rather be building Legos with David and racing him to the shower than sitting in interview chairs, rehashing her failed marriage. Both exes actively loathe the show that made them famous. Both keep renewing contracts. Both keep showing up for filming. Both keep performing their dysfunction for cameras they claim to resent. The math is simple. The paycheck must be worth the misery, or they're trapped by financial obligations that make walking away impossible, or some combination of both, where the money's good enough to tolerate work they despise, but not good enough to provide the financial freedom to quit. Meanwhile, Janelle's in North Carolina, Mary's doing her own thing, and Robin's in Flagstaff, presumably pretending everything's fine while the show's ratings crater and her husband publicly calls their family business negative. Everyone's miserable, everyone's complaining, everyone keeps cashing checks. The viewers watching this slow-motion implosion are starting to ask the question that matters most. If nobody involved actually wants to be here, why are we still watching people perform unhappiness for our entertainment? Christine's daughter Mykelti dropped a bomb on Patreon that reframes everything we thought we knew about the Utah move. She didn't relocate to be near family, she moved to save her mother. Mykelti and her husband Tony found a place in Lehi specifically to give Christine a soft landing when she left polygamy. The goal was showing Christine that life outside Flagstaff was possible, that escaping Kody was achievable, that she could build something new in Utah, surrounded by support. Mykelti essentially became her mother's life coach and emotional scaffolding during the most vulnerable transition of Christine's adult life. But here's what that mission actually cost. Mykelti described feeling like Christine's mother instead of her daughter. She poured all her energy into stabilizing her mom, getting her acclimated to single life, helping her process decades of polygamous marriage. Every ounce of Mykelti's emotional bandwidth went toward ensuring Christine didn't collapse under the weight of leaving everything she'd known. Her marriage to Tony started suffering. She wasn't being the mother her own children needed. The relationship that was supposed to be parent-supporting adult child flipped completely backward, with the daughter parenting her traumatized mother through a life-altering transition. Mykelti was drowning, watching her own life deteriorate while keeping her mom afloat. Then Christine met David. Suddenly, mom didn't need constant emotional support anymore. She had a partner, stability, happiness. Christine was fine, actually better than fine. She was building Legos and racing to the shower and living the joy she'd been denied for decades. Mykelti realized she could finally step back. Her mother didn't need a parent anymore. She needed her daughter back. So Mykelti and Tony made the decision to move away, to reclaim their marriage and their family, to stop sacrificing their relationship on the altar of Christine's healing. Every woman who's ever put her own life on hold to rescue someone she loves understands this pattern. The caretaker role that starts as temporary support and morphs into permanent identity. The slow realization that you're neglecting your own household while managing someone else's crisis. The guilt that comes with stepping back, even when stepping back is the healthiest choice for everyone involved. Mykelti gave this interview with almost no voice, sitting there watching her mom discuss the move on camera. She elaborated on Christine's explanations, adding context Christine either didn't know or didn't share. The daughter who sacrificed her marriage to help her mother escape is now watching that mother perform her life story for TLC cameras while claiming she hates discussing her past. The layers of irony are extraordinary. Christine despises tell-all questions about her Kody years, but her daughter had to become her emotional support system during those exact years, derailing her own marriage in the process. Christine hates performing her trauma for cameras, but that trauma created ripple effects through her children's lives that they're still processing years later. Mykelti moved to Utah to show her mother freedom was possible. She succeeded. Her mother found that freedom and happiness, and now Mykelti's rebuilding the life she postponed to make that rescue mission happen. Meanwhile, back in Utah, Christine and David are fighting about who gets to use the squeegee first. This is what happiness looks like after escaping polygamy. They hopped on another live stream with David's daughter Kody, and the conversation turned to their morning routines. Specifically, their elaborate game of trying to beat each other to the shower. David announced he needed to shower, which apparently is Christine's cue to sprint past him and claim the bathroom first. She's attempted this maneuver multiple times. He's caught her mid-sprint on several occasions. One memorable morning, David turned on the shower while Christine was still fully clothed and deliberately got her completely soaked. Because apparently when you find love in your 50s after decades in a broken plural marriage, you get to act like teenagers again. This particular morning, Christine waited patiently while David finished his Lego project. She's learned his patterns. He'll say he's going to shower, meander toward the door, create an obvious opening for her to run past him. It's an invitation disguised as carelessness. She took the bait, he caught her anyway, did some kind of roll maneuver on top of her, and won the race. The real prize? Not having to squeegee the shower afterward. That's what this entire competitive production is actually about. Two adults in a committed relationship have turned bathroom maintenance into their primary form of foreplay. David's over 60, by the way. He's chasing Christine around the house, tackling her, rolling on top of her to block her path, all to avoid wiping down shower doors. The man is spry. He's playful. He's engaged in the kind of physical affection Christine probably never experienced during 20-some years sharing Kody with 3 other women. They build Legos together too, not just kid Legos. David's working on actual projects, the kind that take hours and significant concentration. Christine sits with him during these builds. They talk. They exist in the same space without tension or competition for attention. It's the opposite of everything her previous marriage represented. Kody observed that David's always been good at understanding emotions, at being present with his daughters, at creating space for feelings instead of shutting them down. David acknowledged that men carry a lot of emotions that society tells them to suppress, that sometimes those bottled feelings come out as anger instead of their actual root causes. This is the life Christine chose. Shower races and Lego builds, and conversations about emotional processing, a partner who tackles her playfully, instead of a husband who divided his time and attention across 4 households. Someone who sees her as the only woman in his world, instead of one option among several. The contrast between Christine's tell-all fury and her livestream joy is striking. When she's forced to discuss Kody for cameras, she radiates resentment. When she's showing off her relationship with David, she glows. One represents her past and the performance TLC demands. The other represents her present and the authenticity she actually lives. Guess which one she'd rather talk about? Guess which one producers keep forcing her to rehash instead? Let's connect every thread we've pulled and see what pattern emerges. Declining ratings, rising production costs, cast members who openly hate their jobs, and yet everyone keeps signing contracts. Season 20 marks a critical turning point. The original contract likely ended with season 19 or 20, which means if there's a season 21, every cast member made an active choice to continue. Nobody's trapped by old paperwork anymore. They're choosing this misery voluntarily, which means the compensation must justify the cost. Christine hates the tell-all questions. She despises discussing Kody. She calls the whole production a set instead of her life, but she signed on for another season anyway. She'll sit in those interview chairs again, field questions about her ex-husband's grooming habits again, perform emotions she'd rather forget again, because the money's worth it, or because she can't afford to walk away, or some calculation in between. Kody calls sister wives negative and toxic while promoting other reality shows where he behaves worse than he ever did on camera with his family. But he's filming another season too. He'll let producers mine his failed marriages for content again, watch his ex-wives discuss his failures again, perform the villain role TLC's narrative demands again. The paycheck clears, so he shows up. Janelle relocated to North Carolina, but she's still part of the show. Mary left the family, but she's still on camera. Robin's watching her sister-wife empire collapse while ratings plummet, and her husband publicly trashes their family business, but she's still filming. Everyone's complaining. Everyone's miserable. Everyone keeps renewing. Every woman who's ever stayed in a job she hated because the bills don't pay themselves understands this calculation. You weigh your dignity against your mortgage. You measure your peace of mind against your children's needs. You ask yourself if the money's worth the emotional cost, and sometimes the answer is yes, even when every other part of you is screaming no. The financial pressure increases as ratings drop. TLC might be offering less money per episode now that viewership cratered. Cast members might be negotiating from weaker positions because the show's cultural relevance is evaporating. But walking away means losing income completely. And for people who've built their lives around reality television paychecks, that loss could be devastating. Consider Kody's child support obligations. He owes Christine money for their minor children. Staying on Sister Wives guarantees income to meet those payments. Quitting the show might create financial consequences he can't afford. Christine staying on the show means continued income too, but it also means subjecting herself to questions she despises about a man she's moved past. They're all trapped in a machine that's breaking down but still generating enough money to make leaving scarier than staying. The ratings will keep dropping, the audience will keep shrinking, production costs will keep rising, and every cast member will keep showing up until the numbers finally force TLC to pull the plug, or until someone finds the courage to walk away first. So here we stand, watching a reality show where nobody wants to be real anymore. The stars hate filming, the audience keeps shrinking, the business model is actively collapsing, and yet everyone's pretending this can continue indefinitely. Next week's episode features Kody and Robin house hunting. On the surface, it looks like a couple seeking a fresh start in a new home. Underneath, insiders suggest it's actually a scheme to buy property that helps Kody manipulate child support payments to Christine. Even the supposedly innocent storylines are soaked in financial maneuvering and resentment. The broader television landscape isn't helping Sister Wives' survival chances. Cable viewership is plummeting across every network as audiences migrate to streaming platforms. TLC's ratings have been declining for years. Sister Wives is hemorrhaging viewers faster than most shows in the network's lineup. The combination of industry-wide struggles and show-specific audience exodus creates a perfect storm of cancellation pressure. Reality television works when viewers believe they're witnessing something authentic, when stars admit they're performing on sets, when they confess to hating the questions producers ask, when both exes publicly trash the show while cashing its checks. The illusion shatters completely. What's left is watching people perform misery for money, and that's significantly less entertaining than watching people live their actual lives. Every woman who's watched a relationship drag on years past, its natural ending recognizes this death spiral. The interesting part already concluded. The wives left Kody, they built new lives. That story is over. Everything after is just watching people renegotiate their relationship to a shared past they'd all prefer to forget, except they can't forget it because TLC keeps paying them to remember. Christine will keep getting angry at tell-all questions until she finally refuses to answer them. Kody will keep calling the show negative until he stops showing up for filming. Janelle will keep participating from North Carolina until the travel costs outweigh the paycheck. Mary will keep existing on the periphery until she quietly disappears from the narrative. Robin will keep defending Kody until there's nobody left to defend him to. Or TLC will look at the ratings trajectory, calculate the production costs, factor in the cast resentment, and make the business decision to end the show before it completely bottoms out. Networks prefer canceling on their own terms rather than watching shows die slowly from viewer disinterest. The national sisterhood watching from home has already started tuning out. We showed up for the exits, we witnessed the escapes, we celebrated Christine finding David and racing him to the shower. We don't need to watch her forced to discuss Kody's sweat for another season. We've seen enough. Do you think Christine will actually refuse to film another season? Or will the money keep her trapped in those interview chairs? And which storyline has you more frustrated? Kody's house hunting scheme, or Christine being forced to relive her marriage on camera? Tap like, hit subscribe, keep notifications on. A fresh video is already queued up, and something tells me the next round of Sister Wives drama will be even messier than the last.